What's up, everyone? This is the first episode of Common Grounds Podcast, and I'm your host, Alex Murphy. Today, we're going to interview and just have mainly a chat with Aarón Heras. He's a member of the Wake Forest track and field team from Barcelona, Spain. How you doing, Aarón?
Good. How are you? I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, I'm in a class about citizenship, and I was just looking to really talk about how you ended up at Wake Forest, being from Spain, maybe a little bit about your background, and just kind of walk us through how you got here, how you got into your fourth year, and how you're sitting on my couch today, even though you've come to be one of my best friends over these 4 years. Just how a 18-year-old from Barcelona becomes a 22-year-old man here in Winston-Salem.
Well, yeah, it's been quite the ride. I started thinking about coming to the States when I turned 18. That was my last year in high school. And my academic options back in Spain were not suitable. I didn't see any much future if I wanted to do my athletics career.
Mm-hmm. Because it's very hard. What the people might not know listening to the podcast is in Europe it doesn't seem like they do D1 sports like we do in America. It's very different. You run for your club, play for your club, and go to school at the same time, but it's not affiliated, and it's almost kind of unrealistic to do both. So you kind of found that in the United States, a chance to do both was really appealing, right?
Yeah, correct. So like in Spain, it's really hard to combine like both things because there's no like the professors won't ease up like your path through.
There's no
athletics.
Understanding kind of that community feel that we have.
Yeah, it's separated. And plus, I wanted to become more independent from my family and just get into a new experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been 4 years and really happy.
That's awesome. Would you say that you found kind of a good community in here? Kind of talk about the community aspect of Wake Forest from the student athlete perspective and from the international student perspective, and heck, combining the two, the international student athlete perspective, because I know we got a lot of friends who are international student athletes, not only on your team but a lot of the teams. Like field hockey has a strong contingent, basketball has a few, but it's mainly soccer, sports like that. American football, we didn't have any international kids to my knowledge. We had children immigrants, but kids who grew up here, so they might have nationality for another country, but I think there was one or two actually. But yeah, talk to us about that, being an international student athlete and finding community and how that's been.
Yeah, so like at first, like my main goal was to blend into the American community. But it was not easy at first because, like the culture difference was a big, it was a bit of a shock for me. Just like getting used to like the schedules, the ways to talk, the ways to address the people. That was a little bit difficult at first, but then you just get used to it. Also, like as you said, like sharing my thoughts and my feelings about how I felt with other international student athletes also helped a little bit.
Yeah, like Andreu, he was a member of the soccer team for those listening, and he was also from Barcelona. Yeah. So I think having him here. Can you talk a little bit about that? I definitely saw a great friendship between you two, but I'd like to hear more about that and the community you found. Kind of finding a Barcelona connection here in Winston-Salem. So what was that like? Yeah,
so that was a guy that I met, I think my second day that I came here.
Great guy.
Yeah, really good guy. I really miss him. He was one of my best friends here. He really helped me through get all the process of blending into the community and just helping me out with a lot of stuff that it was really new to me. I didn't know how to react, how to address certain problems and deal with stuff.
He's more Catalan, wouldn't you say? Because for those listening in, Barcelona's got a lot of it's Catalonia. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? How that kind of rift that definitely ties into citizenship. How there's a lot of people who want to be independent, who support Catalan and the independence of Catalonia, but other Catalan people who don't. And obviously Barcelona being a cosmopolitan city, it's going to have a lot of people from all over Spain living there, and just in general, English speakers, Spanish speakers, and Catalan speakers speaking 3 languages at least in one city. That's something we wouldn't even imagine in America. That's something that you would never see. Maybe in Miami or Los Angeles, in New York, but other than that, geez, 3. So why don't you talk about that and how that kind of pertains to citizenship before we kind of dive into the American context in Wake Forest. But like in your own backyard, like I remember sophomore year, you were talking about the protests that were going on and just kind of all that. If you could kind of talk about that, that'd be great. Yeah.
So like the protest thing that started, I think, in 2017 about the independence. I think that was my second to last year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a rough time back home because I had to deal with a lot of different points of view and like mentality on that aspect. I come from my family's background of like non-independent kind of mentality. We want like Catalonia and Spain like be a like just a one country thing. But I did have friends back home that they wanted that segregation, and that was kind of a rough time. And I had to deal with that. And when I came here and I met Andreu, the guy that played on the soccer team, he was kind of also like on that same mentality.
Point line,
like the point of view. And actually, like right at the end, since I started meeting him and like just like talking to him, I think he realized maybe I turned him like more Hispanic,
that
more Spanish, because I remember like at the end like he was telling me like he didn't believe on all that independence stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of good for me.
That's crazy.
But at the end, like I don't like once you live on that situation, you start to like respecting each other. And like my best friend back home, he's a full like independent mentality. He wants the independence for Catalonia, and we're best friends. At the end, what you gotta do is learn from the past and respect each other.
Respect's the huge thing.
You gotta respect each other's beliefs and ideas, and as long as you respect like the person, that's all that matters.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Now, could you talk maybe a little bit about your education background? Which language the classes were taught in?
Yeah.
And just how that's kind of interesting. Just growing up speaking 3 languages at a very, very high level, 2 of them natively in English, near native, and then learning French too. 4 languages. You basically you have my professor. She speaks 5, I think she mentioned, and she's a big proponent of language learning. And it seems the more languages you learn, you can't not learn a language without not learning the culture to some extent, or at least reach a level of proficiency. So the more languages you learn, the more open-minded you are, at least have more of an understanding. So why don't you talk about that and kind of how your education was? Because in America, it's very, very, and when I mean America, I mean the United States of America, it's very hard and it's very rare to see kind of second language acquisition, at least in the public school system and even the private schools. You really got to go look for those rare kind of blended schools or kids who had to study abroad opportunity. But why don't you talk about how your classes were in Catalan and then also somewhere in Spanish and just history and all that stuff, how it kind of, what you read and stuff like that.
Well, I think I consider myself pretty lucky to be born in Barcelona, one of the most multicultural cities in the world. I think that really helps a lot. Same as like New York City. Like you see a lot of people from different backgrounds, like different cultures, speak different languages, and at the end, like you start to like sympathize with them.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Empathy and sympathy too. Both, really. I mean,
and you like kind of put like yourself like not like you come to the school with your values and your teachings from your parents from like back home, and then you blend into like that school or that community. Like myself, I played on the playground with like different kids
from all over the world.
And like with maybe ones they spoke more Spanish, most spoke more Catalan.
Would you say the next biggest ethnic group there would be the Moroccan because there's a large Moroccan community given the
Yeah.
history and the proximity to Morocco.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, or
Yeah.
is
So
that
probably,
not that big?
Yeah, it's the Moroccan, and also like one other thing about the Moroccans is like they also have that two blended kind of background, which is
It's
the
French too, no?
Arabic, yes, and the French. So, yeah,
That's really good.
yeah.
But the other thing I was gonna say, just kind of building off of that before we really talk about your adjustment to America, was just kind of that experience. And I remember that Spanish class we took together, and that was great to be in class with you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Professor Sol Prendes. We had a really great time learning about Spanish history, reading some of the works, and just really talking about how different parts of Spain, like the Basque region, for instance, and then like, Galicia, they have different types of, well, obviously in the Basque region, they speak a completely different language. And then the Galician dialect is really, really different too. It's almost more like Portuguese. So just all that diversity in such a small region, relatively small region. So probably about the size, a little bit smaller than Texas or California. That's probably what the Iberian Peninsula is about, size-wise, and just having that in your own backyard. So when you came to the U.S., having all this kind of, I think it's fair to say, being a global citizen, because we got to tie it back to citizenship, having this kind of perspective, what was it like coming here and then, meeting people from Latin America in the United States, because there's a good portion of kids from Latin America at Wake Forest, and then additionally just coming to the United States and meeting people who've grown up in the United States and maybe have been here, their whole lives, and their parents have been here their whole lives. What was that like? And those kind of two communities usually seem to be not super blended, like in a lot of towns, it's like, oh, this is the Hispanic part, or this is the African American part, and this is the white part of town. That's kind of how it seems to be, in my opinion, in the United States, very closed-minded. But someone who's clearly had the blending of all these cultures in your background, how did you kind of navigate that? Because you seem to kind of hop around through friend groups, no matter who they are, and you're just a good human, and that's kind of something I've always admired in you. You don't care who they are, what they are, you just care that they're good people. So, yeah, I know that's kind of long, but why don't you talk about that and try to explain how you've had such success?
Yeah, well, first off, like as I mentioned before, I feel really, really lucky to be born in Barcelona. That gave me like a huge advantage compared to like other people like in my country, like people that live in small villages, like even in my region, like in Catalonia, people that live in small villages aside from the big cities as the four autonomous communities, the capital, sorry. They're not as advantaged as people that can see like people from like different backgrounds and different, just like different backgrounds that they've lived like they've had like different like experiences just in life. And that just gives you like more perspective of how the world is. And
you always seem to admire the people that work hard, because as an athlete, you're a very hard worker. You currently got the number one time in the NCAA for your event, the 10K.
Yeah.
So if you see someone working hard, no matter what they're doing, and they don't have to reach a crazy level of success, but you seem to have respect for them, that they're giving their best effort. That seems to be a theme for you.
Yeah, because we usually, as a human group, we usually put like stereotypes on people, And
like that talk we went to the other day.
Yeah.
With Dr. Cordone. She was a guest from the United Nations. Why don't you talk about that, stereotype and stereotyping? I know you've been stereotyped. I remember kids thought on the track team that they were like, oh, Aaron, can you make us some tacos? And like Mexican food's amazing, but tacos aren't really a dish in Spain. And maybe if they serve them, they're served in a Mexican restaurant. It's more tapas or paella, or those are very stereotypical dishes. But why don't you talk about that?
Which I totally understand. Like that didn't hurt me at all. I just understand that they don't understand like the whole picture that Spanish people can be also from Spain, not just the South American part. But one of the things that I wanted to say is the first time that I really started thinking about my ethnicity and about my race,
how it relates to citizenship, because it really relates in this country. It's like,
it was when I came here. I never thought that I was or I was never questioned that I was white until I came here, when I had to like fill up some paperwork and I had to choose if I was a white male or a Hispanic.
Yeah.
Which I've always considered myself as first white and then Hispanic.
It always cracks me up how narrow-minded the U.S. is like that. I remember one of my science teachers was saying like, well, if you're black or if you're Hispanic, and I'm like, what about the millions of people that live in the Caribbean and are Afro-Latino or even South America? Like, look at Brazil. Look at the coast of Colombia. Look at all those countries who have great cultures that blend the Hispanic culture with the African culture. Like, some of the best baseball players in the world come from the Dominican, like David Ortiz, for instance.
Yeah.
And he's black, he's Hispanic. You can be
both.
I
just think that
it's so stupid when you say it's silly. It's narrow-minded.
Yeah. I just think that people on the higher ladder on all the
socioeconomic,
they want to do like a good job, or they're trying to like come up with new things and like make it better. But at the end, like, I think it's creating more segregation, because why on the first moment, like, we gotta think about race or I'm this, I'm that. No, like, when I was back home, my friend had a Cuban mother and a Hispanic mother, or he the one dad was African and the other one was white. Well, then the kid is mixed, and there's nothing wrong about it, and no one had to question. Oh, but your dad is from Cuba. Well, he is, but that doesn't have to change anything, or like not even question it. It's just a fun fact, but I don't think we have to like
base your personality on it
and just like talk
unless
and talk
you want
about
to.
it.
Like, culture is very important unless you want to, but
culture is important,
but it should be more of like, bring it if you want to bring it, leave it where you want to leave it. It's at the discretion of the person. Wouldn't you say, or no? Like,
but I don't think we have to talk about that matter all the time and just say that like, oh, you're this, you're that. I just like from like now I think that I just believe on the human race, and I know it seems like pretty broad, but like it's true. It
is true. Anthropology, that's what they taught us at Wake Forest. And I know you're a biologist, but let's talk more about Wake Forest. Like, what does it mean to be kind of a citizen or a member of a community at Wake Forest? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think people want to feel don't want to feel alone, and
they want belonging.
They want to belong to something. That's why there's the black community, or the Asian community, the Chinese, the Japanese, like the Korean as well. I just think that if that works for them, it's cool, good, but I don't really like to categorize myself and like put myself into like a group of people. I have my group of friends. Some friends they speak Spanish. They're from Spain. Some friends they speak Spanish and they're from other parts of the country. And some other friends are from here, from America. They're white. They're black. They're Asian. And I don't like to make like, oh, this is my group. No, this is my group of friends, and I don't care if.
I always see you making new friends. That's the one thing I think a lot of freshmen, they kind of stick to their group from freshman year, and that's who they ride with their next 3 years, or beginning of sophomore year at least. And then rest of sophomore year, junior year, senior year, the kids in their fraternity, the kids in their sorority, that's their clique, and they don't really stray from it. But I feel like you've always just continued making friends here and maintained them. Now that's a really strong thing, like being a member of a community and citizens. So I think that's something that's really important.
Well, and I think that's something that I learned from you as well, because you just don't stop making friends.
You gotta keep
all over
talking.
the world.
You gotta keep talking.
And like that's something that you gotta do. I mean, if you're social and you're open minded and you have intrigue to know about others' background and culture, and just like being intrigued about their life, and if they seem interested in you just talk to them and see what's up. And I think that we've done a pretty good job.
I think that's a great point to wrap it up on. So I think for anyone listening, anyone looking to learn, I think the big thing is to listen, learn, like you say, like be intrigued or like have curiosity. When you say be curious, be respectful, keep that human respect, and you'll go places, I think. Wouldn't you say, sir?
I think you put it on a high note.
All right. Well, I think we got to sign off.
Yeah.
This is episode 1 of the Common Grounds podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Heras.
See you all
Thank you for
soon.
being here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.